life's fading fast, if my aging wheels sound...
Hello and welcome to Health Exposure. My name is Kurt Hill and I'm your host. You know, one week I'm going to give the wrong name, I think it just. But this week I'm excited because you know who is here. That's Deborah Arneson, one of my very favorite. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Kurt.
Boy, this is going to be a show and a half.
It's going to be interesting.
Oh my
We've
goodness.
got some good
Drug
stuff to share.
and nutrient deficiencies. That's
Well,
right.
Nutrient deficiencies caused by drugs, right?
Nutrient deficiencies caused by drugs.
Right, right.
Incredible. Before we even get started, I got to ask you, is coffee a drug?
Yes. It is. I know you don't want to know that.
No, I know.
It actually, 2 years ago, they started listing it in the physician's desk reference as a drug. Caffeine, that is, not coffee.
My goodness.
But caffeine.
All
So
right,
it's
I'm glad
now
I started that
considered
off.
a medication, huh?
That's right, Deborah, because my producer gave me 1,001 questions to ask you and figured you'd have 2,000 answers
Well,
for all
let's
these
rock and
questions.
roll.
We're going to
We can have
rock
some
and
fun
roll.
here.
Oh, my goodness. Deborah, there are two principal methods of treating disease. One is combative, the other preventive. Millions of Americans are in the combat zone.
It's true. Americans are basically taking medications by the fistfuls, and they are robbing their bodies of vital vitamins and minerals every single day. And oftentimes you're seeing people taking multiple medications or drugs, so it's like a double indemnity in that case.
Oh, my goodness. What are some of the signs and symptoms of precious nutrient deficiencies?
Well, you know, I actually created an interesting log. I'm putting together a book finally. So I am going to write a book.
I think that's
well, actually,
wonderful.
it's in process. It's
I think that's
being
wonderful.
written,
Good,
so it's
good.
time. But in my investigation, what I thought we really needed here was some really clear and concise signs and symptoms and nutritional deficiencies associated with different symptomatologies. So, you know, for someone who's suffering from chronic fatigue, for instance, or tiredness as a constant complaint, we'd look towards, first of all, low K-calories, meaning not enough calories in their diet every day, not ample water to break those nourishing nutrients down that they are consuming, and certainly we look always to the Bs, B6, B12, folic acid, magnesium, zinc. There are all kinds of different nutrients, but especially the Bs. They're what we call the anti-stress nutrients, and they really tend to perk people up.
What are EFAs?
Essential fatty acids are very important.
Okay, right.
EFAs are found in good seeds, nuts, and oils from those foods, and cold water fish, small amounts in legumes. So essential fatty acids are wonderful. And you know, that's another deficiency. But when you see fatigue that's chronic, then you can always look towards EFAs, simply because when people have cellular insufficiencies, you know they're missing that protective kind of rain coating around the cells, which is formed by enough essential fatty acids in the diet. So,
How about depression?
Depression, there are so many. K-calories always, water again, B2, we're looking at CoQ10, essential fatty acids, magnesium, zinc, multiple minerals. I mean, when I did this list, there are so many that cross over, so I gave people the major players. You know, manganese is always one to look for. I don't necessarily list it all the time. Not everyone is manganese deficient, but most people are. And it's also a major player in thyroid activity.
Oh, I see.
So if you don't have enough manganese, it's like you're missing one of the players on the baseball field to complete the game. You can't have a complete game without all of the players present. You have
I like
to
that
have
analogy. That works. That works.
well, you know, I kind of look at the body like a cellular playground. And, you know, in the game of life, you have to have all of those nutrient groups present. You have to have your proteins, your fats, your carbohydrates, hopefully lean proteins, those essential fatty acids that are unsaturated, and those carbohydrates are what we consider to be the low glycemic carbohydrates, you know, that aren't high in sugar. And then you need to have all of your major player minerals and vitamins as well.
Oh, I see.
So you've got the outfielders, you've got for second and third base, you've got your hitter, you know, you've got your batter, not your hitter, but your batter, your
That's
pitcher.
a good way to look at it. Since the body is a unit, a team effort, you have down here the choline and taurine or taurine.
Taurine is a free-form amino acid, and choline is one of the B vitamins, but the taurine is very important for many people. It helps to spare magnesium.
Oh, really?
Yes, so it's a magnesium-sparing amino acid.
Now, don't women lose magnesium in the cycle, or?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
They actually need more during their period.
So taurine is something they could, where do you get taurine?
It's a free-form amino acid. You can find it in foods, but also in capsules.
Hmm.
So there's a product, it's called magnesium taurate, that I love, and I take it personally. You know,
Okay.
it spares magnesium, which helps with smooth muscle contractions. So around your cycle, you actually do need more magnesium. And interestingly enough, Kurt, many women crave chocolate. Chocolate contains magnesium, but chocolate also robs your body of all the B vitamins.
Oh,
So
my
it's like a
goodness.
catch-22.
Catch-22,
Crave
I
it,
see.
want it, have it, lose it.
Lose it.
You know,
Yes.
keep going around and around with it. So
Oh my goodness.
those are
Okay.
important as well.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What deficiencies would be related to low body temperature?
Well, that's a good one because I see that all the time in people who are starving. They don't know they're starving. Now, I'll give you a case in point. I had a couple who came in yesterday, and just adorable. She's 25, he's about 31, and she's 4 months pregnant. They're both, he's a Taekwondo instructor, and she's just a fanatic with her workout. They work out a total every week of about 9 to 12 hours a week of cardio and weights. She came in, we calculated her calories. She was eating about 800 calories a day. And she looks tired. You know, she said normally she has great energy. I mean, her body fat was 20%, and she's 4 months pregnant. So she's hard as a rock, this kid.
Okay.
And her husband's very dynamic, very energized, you know, one of those. And she's kind of like, oh, here we go again, you know.
He
But
would be in the combat zone right now.
Right. No, he's very healthy.
Yes.
But they chose a vegan lifestyle a few years ago,
Oh, okay.
based on a speaker that they had listened to and a book they had read. And because of that, their amino acid needs weren't being met. She basically is consuming about 800 to 900 calories a day.
Mm-hmm. You're still holding that a vegan diet doesn't give you all you need.
Not unless you're a very dedicated vegan and you have nothing to do other than to cook for yourself and eat correctly. I've never met a vegan who is extremely healthy, that's for
Okay.
sure. And the problem with being a vegetarian, especially people who choose not to do dairy and choose not to do, you know, any type of eggs or cheese or anything like that, they end up losing amino acids by the bushelfuls. And what will happen is the body will use what it has from muscle, and they end up compromising their system. And then chronic diseases will actually crop up a lot sooner than they should because they've been deficient for so long. So for instance, case in point, they've been vegans for 2 years with no dairy, no cheese, nothing. Eat fish though, once a week maybe, just in the last 6 months since she became pregnant. But nonetheless, calculating her protein grams, she was eating about 14 grams of protein a day, maybe 20. Without being pregnant, she needs 84 grams of protein a day, which is 10 ounces of protein, if you convert it. With her pregnancy, she'd need an additional 400 to 500 calories a day. With her workout, she needs an additional 500 to 600 calories a day. So now we're looking at a girl who needs around 2300 to 2400 calories a day if she's going to continue to work out 12 hours a week or 10 hours a week, plus maintain a healthy baby. Otherwise, the baby's going to take everything the baby needs from her bone, you know, her muscle, her tissue. She doesn't have any fat to spare. So she'll end up probably dealing with really bad depression after the pregnancy if she doesn't eat more. So what you're looking at here is a woman who eats healthfully for the most part. Most of her calories came from starches, but she eats her 2 pieces of fruit a day and 2 cups of vegetables, but no fats and no proteins at all. So what I'm looking at here is shifting her. I spent probably an hour trying to convince them that they needed protein. Forget him right now, but she definitely needs it because she's pregnant. You know, otherwise the baby will be compromised. She'll have a low birth weight baby, and you know, she'll be compromised after the birth. Now, can she eat a vegan diet and acquire enough amino acids? Yeah, she could. But to eat 4 ounces of protein, she would have to calculate then in 2 cups of rice with 2 cups of beans. She should be doing at least, what, 20 ounces of protein a day? So we're talking 6 to 8 cups of rice and 6 to 8 cups of beans. So that's 16 cups of beans and rice a day to get her amino acid needs met, unless she does tofu, which she doesn't like. So this is what we're talking about.
Exactly,
you know,
yes.
low protein or amino acids, low calories, low water, low essential fatty acids all contribute to fatigue. They all contribute to it. But low calories are the most typical, and they're most typical in women. Women always think they eat enough. Always.
That's incredible.
And you know what? Because they eat healthfully or healthier than 90% of the American population, you know, they feel that they eat better than everybody else and therefore they shouldn't have any problems. But they're missing the major players, the EFAs and the proteins by and large.
I see.
So,
A lot of information.
well,
So very, very
it's
good.
pretty basic, you know, Kurt. It comes back to what your mom and my mom told us when we were kids: eat 3 squares a day. You know, but what we've lost sight of is what is a square meal. You know, a square meal is no longer. I mean, when I took, you know, my classes in high school, when we took home ec, we had to have a green vegetable with something orange and something white. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was almost like a color-coordinated plate always. And when I took home ec, I was like, oh, this is boring. But honestly, the basics, which were those 3 squares a day, each of your meals should contain a food that had colors in it, which would be fruits and vegetables,
Yes.
which bring in fiber and lots of minerals and vitamins, you know.
But how do you eat a square meal on a round plate? Just thought I'd give us a breather.
Stop it! What
Stomach
shall I do with him?
problems, gas, bloating, and indigestion.
Gas and bloating.
Excuse me.
That's so gross.
Excuse me, guys.
We look
Gas
at
and
all
bloating.
the B's again, okay?
Okay.
But we also, there are major players for the creation of digestive enzymes in the body. And minerals are primary, and we talked about that in one of our last shows. So you have to have all of the minerals present all of the time for the body to make enzymes. Now, if you have a lot of gas and bloating, it's really important for people to consider something called Lactobacillus acidophilus. Sounds confusing, but it's not. It can be broken down into bifidus or dophilus as well. This is a byproduct, basically, of a healthy intestinal tract. You can take it orally. It's a friendly bacterium that you put into the system, and it re-inoculates the guts or your intestines as well as the stomach. So oftentimes, you know, I'll have somebody over and they say, oh, I've got indigestion. I give them a tablespoon of bifidus or dophilus with a little bit of water. Boom, it's gone.
My
So,
goodness.
yeah, it really re-inoculates the stomach, brings lots of B vitamins into the body as well. It's loaded with the Bs.
Incredible.
Yeah, so
Incredible.
that's important. I'd say vitamin K, copper, iron, magnesium. There's, again, a myriad of different nutrients that the body needs to help you digest well. And again, if you don't eat enough, Kurt, for a long period of time, your body stops making the enzymes to break foods down. It's basically, let's say this girl, okay, that I talked about, who is pregnant and needs 2,000 calories a day plus, is eating less than 1,000. Well, her body will begin to turn down or shut off different systems. So if your body is receiving 1,000 calories a day and you need 2,000, your body goes, I need to prioritize here. Well, I'll give 300 calories to the brain, and I'll give another 400 calories to the heart, you know, and all these different functions. We'll shut down the GI tract a little bit. We won't process that because it's a big system, requires a lot of energy or calories, and you know what? She won't die if it doesn't work. So now we're looking at constipation, lack of enzymatic formation in the gut, liver, gallbladder becomes sluggish and toxic and slow, and et cetera, et cetera. And the next thing you know, you've got a GI tract that's like sleeping. So then she turns around and one day maybe eats too much, and she becomes very bloated and gassy and distended.
Yes.
And then people go, oh, I feel so much better when I don't eat. So it's a catch-22 again.
Yes.
Need
Yes.
it, eat it, don't feel good, don't eat it. You know, so you end up putting yourself in this cycle that's basically a downward spiral. So for this girl, for instance, she needs 2,000 calories a day, but I took her from 852 up to 1,400 for the first week. Next week, I'll take her up to probably 1,800 because her body's not used to eating. She
My
just,
goodness.
even though she needs it, I wouldn't even begin to give her 2,000 calories. She'd hate me, you know, and her body just wouldn't know what to do with that nutrient load,
Yes.
basically. So
That's incredible.
we'll tease it into
Tease it into, yes,
yeah,
I see.
functioning
Okay.
well.
I know you hear this a lot, sleep disturbances.
Oh, again, always look at calories. That's the first thing you look at with people, you know, whether or not they have enough calories. Essential fatty acids are necessary for the creation of what we call neuron, formation. So you have this like electrical wiring system in the body. And these wires are all encased in a coating, just like your vacuum cleaner wires are. Okay, and this coating is the myelin that goes around all of your wiring. If you don't have enough of the essential fatty acids, you can't create this healthy coat around the wiring, the central nervous system in the body. So it's very important that you have enough EFAs to create this protective layer around your nerves. Okay, if you don't have that, basically you become kind of high-strung and people have trouble sleeping at night, you know, disturbances, things like that. So it's important to look at that. So calories, EFAs, I would look at magnesium and calcium always. If you don't sleep well, you may have either too much calcium, not enough magnesium, or simply not enough magnesium.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. Frequency of urination is linked to what specific vitamin deficiency?
Oh, again, potassium and
Okay.
magnesium and sodium, actually. They all help to pull water into the cells. And if you have a deficiency of those specific nutrients, then you could certainly have a problem. Now, when people take medications, Kurt, what they're doing every single day is they're taking all of these many different varied nutrients out of the body. And we'll get to the point shortly here where I tell you which ones are the most popular losses,
Okay.
given most medications or most drugs most of the time. So what we have is basically B1, B6, B12, folic acid, again, calcium and magnesium. So it's important to, first of all, examine what you're taking, see what it's taking out of the body. And if in fact the nutrients are vast and varied, then you better make sure that you cover yourself. Adopt a basic coverage plan and put those nutrients back in via supplementation.
I see.
And a lot of people will say, can I get everything I need from the food I eat if I'm eating really healthfully? If I'm eating, rice every day and, whole grains and fruits and vegetables. If you're not eating organic, I'd say not at all. Okay, again, because of pesticides. And even eating organic, because there are so many environmental problems in this society, in America, it's really important to cover yourself with additional antioxidants or additional nutrients.
Interesting.
Can't get too much of most of them.
This is amazing. So often we see individuals who are caloric and water deficient, as well as multiple nutrient deficiencies. Want to expound on that a little bit?
Well, basically, if someone is taking a number of different drugs or medications, let's take, for example, if someone's drinking coffee.
You saw it.
I had to do
She
it.
did it again. You saw it. She looked at me.
Actually, I never do it, but I did.
Yes, she does. Those of you who have been watching the show for the last couple of years, she always looks at me, and I've told her it's my color. It fades. I need the coffee.
Oh, sure.
The Mayo Clinic.
They endorse coffee.
Is it-
Well, let's say you take caffeine, and caffeine robs the body of 8 different nutrients. We've got magnesium. I know there's zinc in there, all the B vitamins. It'll take out selenium. It'll take out manganese. It takes out a myriad of different nutrients. Now, if you take a cup of coffee or 4 cups of coffee every day, every time you drink that cup of coffee, pretend it's like a little Eureka vacuum cleaner going into the body, and it's just sucking out all your nutrients, okay? You're losing a lot of nutrients. Now, compile that or compound that with something like antibiotics. You end up getting, strep throat or something, you have to go on antibiotics or some kind of infection. And you find that you're now taking antibiotics, which also rob your body of 8 nutrients. Now, some of those are what we call crossover nutrients. So, for instance, antibiotics and caffeine both take out magnesium. Now, you've got a double whammy here, taking out double the amount of magnesium every day, plus your B1, B2, B6, B12, and folic acid. Now, let's say, you're on your antibiotics, you're on your coffee, and you've been doing this for year after year after year. Every year you get sick a couple times, take your antibiotics. Now, by about year 20, your body is so deficient of these minerals that you end up becoming slightly depressed a lot. All of a sudden you just can't seem to get up in the morning. You're just not looking forward to life, and, I just don't like it. You're apathetic, you have lethargy. So you go to the doctor, he says, you're depressed, you should be on Prozac. Take an antidepressant. Now you have an antidepressant which robs your body of 5 vitamins and minerals that we know of. Most of these haven't been studied extensively.
I see.
And pharmaceutical companies know this, but they do not provide this information to pharmacists or to doctors or to patients. They just don't, because they certainly can't make money off of vitamins. They're not, regulated by the FDA, and therefore no one can put a patent on a vitamin. So why tell
see.
people?
Okay. I'm not sure I understand, though. Crossover deficiency. Give me an example or anything? Crossover deficiency.
Well, crossover, again, means that you're taking multiple medications
Multiple medications.
that rob your body of multiple nutrients at the same time.
Got
so
it. Okay.
if
All
you
right.
take antidepressants and you take caffeine in every day and you take in your antibiotics, you're losing magnesium from all three of those sources.
Oh my
They're
goodness.
all robbing your body of magnesium. They're all taking out B1, B2, B6, B12, and folic acid. Now, B12 and folic acid are very important. You know, they're what we call really lightweight B vitamins. They're measured in micrograms, not milligrams. So it's important that you put those in every single day, all the time. You know, folic acid deficiencies can actually be noted by looking at someone's tongue. If someone were to stick their tongue out and they had little ridges around the side of their tongue or deep crevices or cracks in the middle, that means that this person has had an extensively long B6, B12, and folic acid deficiency. B6 is very important because it helps to clear the liver of toxins and medications. So many of these drugs take B6 out. And if
So
you don't put
crevices
it back
in the tongue will demonstrate that, will, excuse me,
Right.
manifest that.
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
Right.
So-
So we're looking at these three drugs, for instance, you know, caffeine, antibiotics, and antidepressants, taking a total of 21 nutrients out of the body.
My goodness.
So if you're on them,
21.
total. Now we have people who, you know, women who are on birth control, who
Yes.
take aspirin every month, you know, for 10 days or something for cramps and discomfort during their cycle. And then they go ahead and take an antidepressant, and then they drink coffee, or they go, you know, they drink lots of diet sodas. So we're talking about like, you know, all these things are sucking nutrients out of the system too fast to be replaced. I mean, and the body will end up with a major deficit.
There's
And
this
then
little
more health problems will crop up.
will crop up.
So it's like a catch-22 again, or a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that with one of my clients, Kurt, a couple years ago, older man, good friend of the family, came in and he was on 16 drugs. And I said to him, who is managing your drug agenda? He goes, well, you know, I've got so many specialists, and this doctor gave me this, and this doctor. So I sat down laboriously and took every drug, looked at all the contraindications, and created a graph of contraindications for each drug, and X'd them all. So I found that actually out of the 16 he was taking, 8 of the drugs that he'd acquired over the last maybe 4 or 5 years were caused by, or the reaction or the action in the body was caused by one of the other drugs. So I came back and I showed him very specifically, this drug causes this problem and you're taking something for gout. You know, these 3 drugs all cause high blood pressure, and now you're on high blood pressure medication. Da-da-da-da-da-da. So what you need to do is go to your doctor, your primary care physician, and tell him he gets to pick 3 drugs.
Wow.
And that's what I tell people all the time. Tell your physician, if you're on 3, tell him he gets to pick 1. You two decide together.
Which is
and
making
then
you a
wean down.
partner in your own
Care.
which is
Right.
good, which is absolutely
Right.
good. Incredible. So how can our viewers help themselves? What primary nutrients give the best coverage for any medication? You got about
Well,
5 minutes to go, so
okay.
you got
All
time to
right.
sort of talk about it.
Oh boy, the major players. I would say if anyone drinks coffee every day or takes birth control or aspirin with regularity for aches and pains, you know, has any of the symptoms we talked about earlier, then you should always, always look at magnesium. He's my favorite mineral. And I love magnesium in a taurine base. What we're seeing today is that people, you know, so many people are concerned about too much or not having enough calcium. And what we're honestly seeing is that people need more magnesium, which helps the uptake of calcium in the system. So it's very important to know that I looked at this list of, I think I put together for the book about 26 categories of drugs, like cholesterol lowering, you know, blood pressure medications, diabetic medications, you know, aspirin, birth control. And out of those, magnesium is a primary loss for each of those categories, those 26 categories. In almost every category, you lose magnesium. You also lose potassium. Okay, potassium is very important. Most doctors know that potassium is a problem for medications, and they will actually give K-tabs to most of their elderly patients. B12, very important, folic acid. B6, vitamin C, all of those are like primary. So you could never go wrong, Kurt, by actually taking a really good B complex vitamin and ample vitamin C And I would say also, if you see a lot of bruising, which happens after people are on medications for a very long period of time, you really need to do some bioflavonoids and vitamin E if it's not contraindicated for the drug you're taking.
I see.
Or essential fatty acids. So those good oils are really mandatory for people. And nobody gets them.
And nobody gets them.
Anymore.
I know we're going to hear it. I know they're going to call in because you mentioned chocolate. And so many people, persons, how about that, like chocolate. And you said it's good for magnesium, but it takes away the B.
Right. So it contains a bit of magnesium. I can't say
Okay.
it's loaded with magnesium.
Okay.
It's not like taking a
I said
magnesium
it,
capsule.
Deborah didn't. Okay.
Yeah. But what it does is it provides you with a little bit of magnesium. It's almost like the body has a body wisdom or a body knowledge.
Okay.
So when you need something, you know, people try to self-medicate without knowing they're self-medicating. You know, people who have chemical imbalances go for drugs, recreational drugs. They may take, you know, alcohol in, you know, which is a drug to medicate themselves or to help regulate something that doesn't feel quite right. You know, there's a disease or a level of discomfort that the body experiences. And by numbing it, you know, actually if you take in a drug medication, sugar, you know, chocolate, alcohol, caffeine, you release an enormous amount of antihistamines and epinephrine and adrenaline all at the same time, which gives you this sense of well-being, briefly, for about 20 to 30 to 50 minutes, and then boom, you drop again.
You drop again.
So you know then that you're constantly just trying to like put a Band-Aid on the boo-boo, when in fact, what you need to know is that you probably have multiple deficiencies.
Yes.
And eating foods that are loaded with these nutrients is vital, you know, and knowing where they come from. And it's simple. They come from live foods, foods that are basically unprocessed, eaten as they're grown, without having gone off to a little manufacturing plant and, you know, been raped and pillaged.
Real quick,
Yes.
while life's been going on, you've been very busy,
Uh-huh.
lecturer, guest speaking, radio shows, now a book. What else?
Ah, gosh, I think that's enough.
That's enough.
Yeah, yeah. The book will probably be done by, I hope to have it completed by next spring. And the radio show, we'd like to take it and get it syndicated and get it out there across the nation.
You heard
That would
it.
be fun. So
That's wonderful.
that's my focus.
That
yeah.
is just so good. There's
Yeah,
so
more
much.
information. People need it. Yeah, they need it. You know, people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. So what we're going to do in the book is we're going to exploit the myths,
Oh, good.
the health myths.
I like that.
And we're going to take on the food pyramid and completely redefine the food pyramid.
Oh, I think that's incredible.
Food
think
pyramid
that's
stinks.
incredible.
It's just not appropriate for Americans, and people are following it, unfortunately.
And they're just now starting to talk about that, about the food pyramid. I was listening to a show the other day, and they were saying, no, it doesn't work.
It doesn't
that-
work. People need to
incredible.
like not pay attention to the food pyramid, okay?
My goodness. That's right. Deborah, thank you so much.
It's great being
You know,
here.
it's just
Thanks,
incredible.
Kurt.
I always wait and I get excited when Deborah Arneson is coming on the show and when I find out that you're going to be listening. So come see me next week too, okay? I'm Kurt Hill, your host, and this has been Health Exposure. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
It's because my shadow falls only in the night, like a bird in its flight. It's the same old dream playing over in my head by soliloquy. Things I wish I'd said now, but you know the telephone lines here are down, like the love I once